How's it going, guys? Welcome back to another episode of the Theme Park Shark podcast. We are doing Shark Stop today with Alicia Stella. Alicia, thank you for being here as always.
Of course.
Universal's Epic Universe is back. So for, I don't know, the haters or anybody that said that this was done, it's not done. And did we ever say it was done? I don't think we ever officially went on record as saying it was done, right, Alicia?
I may have written an article on the Theme Park Shark website that said if it was done, they could move Super Nintendo World to Kid Zone. But I was pretty sure I said if.
Those are big ifs, so let's keep that in mind. It's confirmed that it's back, and it was confirmed by the park themselves, which I thought was kind of interesting because did they ever even come out and say that it was done, or is that just put water on the fires that were just happening in the fan community?
Yeah, they wanted to make it very clear that this park is definitely not dead because they released a press release. They said it in a conference call. They sent me an email. Like everyone, pass holders got an email. If you're on their mailing list, they're like, Epic Universe is back. No, they wanted to make sure that we knew that it's not paused anymore because they had paused it back in July of last year. Now the pause has been lifted and we are unpausing the construction. Although technically they were still working at the site and doing prep work. The pause was more like the vertical construction. The next step of construction was paused. It's pretty exciting. In the next few months, we'll actually see the big stuff start to happen that was supposed to have happened toward the end of last summer.
I thought it was super interesting to get a big press release like this, but it makes sense if we want to, I guess, get people geared up and excited again, get people thinking about Epic Universe again. But at this point, I guess the question becomes, in what sense is it back? Is it back in its totality? Is it back in smaller ways? What have you heard on your side as far as how Epic Universe is back at this point?
It is interesting that they use the very same and only piece of concept art with this press release and blog post. Like you could infer that the park hasn't changed, but then again, concept art is just that, it's a concept. What they said is they're going to spend the next few months, rehiring a lot of people, get their teams together, start ordering materials. So we're still in the early phase of a restart. And it's entirely possible that once they get Universal Creative Team back on the project, that there could be some changes. I think a lot of people are probably expecting like bad changes or cuts across the board to try to get this done on time or something. But I think they're extending their own internal deadline on this project enough that they could still build out the park, the way they want to. And what's strange in the Comcast era of Universal is that rather than cuts across the board and budget cuts and the park getting worse, I have a feeling some things are actually going to get better.
Ooh, that's juicy. Is there anything that you can dive into that might get better? How comfortable do you feel going as far as saying what things could potentially get better?
I'm just personally me guessing because we're a little bit later in time, time has moved. They will have opportunities or access to better technologies, ride systems that they were thinking of using early on. Even before they went into the pause, there was rumors that they had, plussed one of the Wizarding World rides and that it was going to be one ride system and that they're deciding to switch it to another ride system. And now that we're living in the future, we're 1 year into the future now. So when they come back to this project, having had some time off, they may have some newer ideas. So not necessarily the whole makeup of the park could change, but maybe what's inside of this show building will be better than they were originally planning.
It's interesting that you say that because I'm turning to Mario Kart now, and this is a ride that, officially ready, should have been ready at the end of 2020. Now it's going to be a ride newly introduced in Orlando in 2000, most likely 25, right? So what could a ride like Mario Kart even look like? Do you think that's something that could potentially get a few extra touches? Is it something that, across the board, when we see rides usually, transported from coast to coast or even internationally, we don't see a ton of changes. But this is a pretty steep, time period in between for a flagship attraction like Mario Kart. So I'm curious if that could potentially get any plus ups, even if it's just something as simple as better AR or something,
Well, yeah, we need that occlusion. We need some occlusion in this AR. Well, that ride and something I've talked about on my channel, the VR broomstick ride, these are rides that depend on the technology, which is advancing, leaps and bounds every year. So yeah, it's entirely possible that while the layout might not change and the permits don't have to change, the actual CPUs running the AR headsets could be improved. and the programming could be improved. And like we talked about on a previous episode, they could improve Mario Kart in Japan when they're installing Mario Kart in Hollywood, and then when they're installing it here. And every time, they go in and start from scratch, they could be improving it and then implementing the improvements over at the original ride. So I think I don't expect Mario Kart to be a different experience, but
Sure.
I could see it get better graphics, or it could get the occlusion like I've been talking about, where it automatically hides characters behind people's heads that are in the front row. And in the VR broomstick ride, this is something that we haven't had any confirmation of it, but I talked about on my channel that it's a possible ride system that they're contemplating for the Wizarding World ride, where you get to fly on a broomstick. And they probably haven't, gotten the actual graphics houses to render the movie yet for this project. So because of that, we're now living a year in the future, and these graphics houses that do these types of videos might be able to do something that's a little more polished than, say, it would have been a year or two ago. So there could be little improvements like that. But then again, this is Comcast, and it's they want you to know that this park is back. And I bet you in a year or two, they're going to want you to know that it's better than ever. Like, this is, we have no idea what to expect. Like, the original park that was going to be built here in 2001 under previous owners, like back in the Seagram's days, they were the ones that when things got bad, they cut and run, and they sold this land off. And now seeing what Comcast is doing, and things got bad and they stuck to it, and they stuck to their guns, and they're going to build this park, it gives me a lot of hope for the future for the park.
I'm just super excited about this park. I mean, ever since the day we started talking about this and started digging into what worlds would be present, and going over I guess how diverse this park would actually be, and the technology that we expect for it to be, the theming just across the board, whether it be in the hub or in the actual worlds themselves. It seems really unique and really fun and really different for a Universal park. So that was exciting too. But I think I'm at the point where I just kind of want to check in, and I want to see, is it still Nintendo? Is it still Monsters? Is it still Potter? Is it still How to Train Your Dragon? From what you've heard and what you've seen, do you think at this point that it's still moving forward in that way? Because I think that's probably going to be the big question in the comments right now is there anything massive from a land standpoint that's changed, or does it seem pretty on point to this point?
It seems, at least where we left it last, it seems to be where it left off, they're going to pick right back up. So I imagine the lands are going to stay the way they are. I think we theorized early on that it was all Fantastic Beasts, and it may be more Potter than we ever imagined. But that's not a new change, although everyone will interpret it as such. It was just that's speculation on our part. We were probably wrong to start with. That it might be a location from Fantastic Beasts, but that doesn't mean there'll be characters from the movie in that land. And the Ministry of Magic London is probably a bigger part of that land than we thought. So there's things that people might think are changes, but that's probably where they left off before they, paused. Also, something that we maybe have been getting wrong, that was theorized early on. They said in this official press release the same thing that they said in the initial press release 2019 in August, that Epic Universe will feature a new theme park, an entertainment complex, hotels, shops, restaurants, and more. And it's wait a minute, entertainment complex? What is that? And there is no permits, there was no plans for anything other than this giant theme park with a huge hub and some hotels. There's the hotels with an S in this press release. There's the one at the back of the park, but then there's also 2 plots across the street from the park that they have been permitting and planning that will probably pop up, right after or concurrently with the park. But this entertainment center, are they referring to the hub? And does that mean we'll have, all guest access to the hub? Is it free access to the hub? The way that City Walk is, and then you have to use your ticket to get into the lands. Something that was, thrown out and pitched years ago before they even had a name for this park. Many were quick to say, no, they're just going to make it a normal theme park, but they're still calling it an entertainment center, separate from the theme park. So that is interesting.
Do you think that's it though? Can they be referring to the hub?
I don't know what else they were referring to, unless they're talking about like a phase 2 expansion behind the parking lot that's probably 10 years out, which, it's possible. They
Yeah.
are saying hotels with an S, so that is also
Right.
possible. But it would be cool if, we had, even if it was like after 5 only, you can come into the hub and eat dinner and like see a show and then enjoy the fireworks and then leave. It's a huge hub. We're talking like the size of some theme parks is the center of this theme park.
Wow.
So,
Well, it's definitely themed and built in such a way, like, where the worlds are kind of extended out with little ports essentially like throughout the hub. It's built in such a way where that could probably very easily be done. I guess the question now becomes I guess in your mind, how likely is it? And is there anything on the table to do this right now?
I don't know. This is something that we're going to have to learn more about. And it's like it's something that we stopped talking about, but maybe we should start talking about it again because it keeps getting included in the press releases. At very least, maybe those hotel guests at the back of the park have access to the hub, even if they don't go into the lands, even if they don't have a day ticket, like some kind of perk, because this is a really fancy hotel. So you want as many perks as you could get. Yeah. But it also ties into when this is going to all open. Which, Mayor Demings said, which he probably shouldn't have, but he said that Universal told him early 2025. I've been saying we're looking at probably spring 2025 because they're extending the Kirkman Road, and Kirkman Road is going to be a main thoroughfare to get between the current Universal's like Orlando resort and the new resort. So, with those bus lanes in the middle, you don't have to worry about iDrive traffic or Universal Boulevard traffic. So 2025 seems like a long time considering they're only delayed in construction by a year. So I'm just putting it out there. This is like, the open hub idea. This is not something that we have any confirmation of, but what if they were to open an element or two of Epic Universe early? Like, what if some parts of this were ready before 2025 and they opened it, like a taste of Universal's Epic Universe, if you will.
Okay, I like that.
like
that.
Just a sampling. Because of the way it's constructed, because of the access for backstage is all around the outside of the park. All the access roads come from the outside. You could theoretically open the hub before the park was done. You could have restaurants open or even some attractions in the hub and let people park in the parking lot. Parking lot's just a pavement. That's easy. We'll get the parking lot done.
Yeah.
We get elements of the hub done. We get people in here. You do food festivals. Who cares? This thing is huge. You enjoy the water features in the center.
Epic.
But then there's also the fact that Super Nintendo World is completely planned and ready to go. There's even a ton of it that's been prefabricated in a warehouse somewhere in Orlando. Like they have the ability to just pop up Nintendo as fast as they can and not necessarily the rest of the lands because the rest isn't fully designed. But Nintendo is.
I have never heard of such a thing in, I guess, the theme park realm where a brand new park could potentially open almost in segments before the entirety of the park is ready. But these are different times. We're living in a unique period. And wow, that I don't for you, would that make the wait better? Or are you at the point where you're like, if I'm going to wait this long, I want to walk in on day one and experience everything. I don't want to ruin.
No, because for me, day one is probably going to be spent nervously trying to pick which area I'm going to spend all day in. Because there's no way I'm going to get to do everything I want to do. And I want to fully absorb everything. So there's a good chance I would have spent the entire first day in Super Nintendo World anyway. So, of course, I'm willing to pay like half a ticket price for a theme park just to go to 1 out of 4 lands at a theme park. Of course I would. Universal, if you're listening, I am willing to pay $75 to $100 to enter a hub and 1 theme park land if you're willing to build it first. Don't mind the construction noise. Yeah, don't mind the construction noise next door. There's expansion spot like between Nintendo and Monsters. So I think you have a buffer of trees absorbing all that construction noise. It's fine. I would be more than willing. Like, you'd call it a preview. It's a Super Nintendo World Epic preview event, and you sell tickets. Maybe it's not even like a full year or something. It's only on weekends or something. Like, I would pay whatever you're charging, Universal.
Well, I'm sure you just got forums and comments and Twitter right now buzzing. So I'm curious how people are going to chime in and if they're going to also potentially double down on this with you and hound Universal a bit to make this happen. Because this would be a really cool idea. It'd be a really fun way to get people in a lot faster than hopefully 2025. It'd be a nice little way for Universal to, I guess, make up for some of the cash hit during the pandemic. A lot of good things could come there. So it's interesting if that'd be something they'd even want to play with, something they'd even want to do.
I mean, it helps that the land is right near the entrance, too. It's the first thing you see on the left. It's real easy. You don't have to build the hub. You just have a little walkway right to Nintendo.
That's true.
Heading into the green warp pipe, and I'm there.
You could technically kind of rope off the rest of it, too, if you want to keep a lot of it kind of, I guess, still secretive and want to have that big grand reveal, too, I guess, too. Kind of like DCA is open right now pretty much to just past Soarin' and, just past Cars Land as well. Kind of, they could do a kind of similar thing as that. That'd be interesting. But again, I was going to say, I feel like sometimes, I don't know, like you look back on Diagon, like that had a soft opening and stuff, and you see attraction with soft openings all the time. But sometimes I feel like creative just loves the big boom moment. They love to almost like have you come in and just experience everything in one swoop and be amazed. I don't know if that's just like because they worked on it for so long and they want to see that satisfaction of like the faces and people coming in and just that moment.
The line all the way down the block. Yeah. Well, how much did Disney charge like $400 to see Pixar Pier, like the preview or something?
We did have an event. I don't know the price on that.
Like I'm sitting here going, maybe it's half a ticket price. Maybe it's twice a ticket price. Maybe I'm thinking about this all wrong. You really limit it. You make this a blogger, vlogger, super fan event. You have Nintendo fans come from across the country. You got yourself some money here. And you lock out general public.
You know what? You could throw in maybe like a little food pass, some photos or something, and you could make this some premium event.
This is a taste of Super Nintendo World. Don't even have Donkey Kong ready yet. That way, opening day for Epic Universe, you still got more Nintendo to unveil. This is just Mario Kart, Yoshi, and Toad's Cafe. That's what this is.
I actually want to talk to you about Donkey Kong though, because I know Donkey Kong should be ready day one. That's the thought. Does that mean it's ready before Japan, or is Japan still going to beat Florida to Donkey Kong?
I don't know, actually, because they started some work. There's some footings installed, but it looks like all work in Japan on Donkey Kong has stopped. So this might be a thing. They were waiting at least until grand opening, which is happening in a couple weeks. So, I would say we're just waiting until they finally can get capacity up on the land and they finally get regular visitors or international visitors. Then I can see them punching up construction, because they probably wanted to open it a year or so after the Super Nintendo World had opened to try to get visitors to come back. But right now, no one can get there. So it's hard to get people to come back if they haven't been to start with. It's mostly been locals. I'm just very, very, very excited about Epic Universe being alive, and I'm so hopeful that by the end of the year we're going to see foundations being poured and steel going up, because it's a beautiful pile of dirt, but I'm tired of looking at a pile of dirt.
Yeah, I'm right with you there. I've been in LA this whole time, so I'm just ready for a theme park in general. So talking about a new theme park is just incredibly next level for my brain right now, because I've only been inside a park I think once in the last year now, and it was 2 or 3 weeks ago when I went and ate in DCA. So I don't even know if my brain knows what a theme park is anymore. So I'm just excited for anything at this point. So I'm ready for anything. That's what I'm excited about.
The future looks good.
The future definitely does look good. And I think the future looks good for the industry as a whole, because there just seems to be a great appetite right now for traveling and doing things, which is great.
The Roaring 20s.
That's right, guys. I think that's going to wrap up today's episode. If you guys want to catch more of Alicia Stella, she is the Theme Park Stop by Alicia Stella on YouTube. She has the Park Stop podcast as well, and she is Alicia Stella on Twitter. If you guys are looking for more from the Theme Park Shark, you can find our podcast on Apple and Spotify. We are at themeparkshark.com, and of course, the Theme Park Shark on YouTube. But all right, guys, that's going to wrap up today's episode of Shark Stop. As always, I appreciate you guys being here and for listening and or watching. Take care, have a great day, and we'll see you guys in the next one.